So for me, the mission is what gets me out of bed. The vision is where I'm going. The mission is what gets me out of bed every day. And I'm on a mission to make memories to change the world. And so everything I do in my life is to chase memories that ultimately will change the world. So I'm sitting here on the interview with you. You probably hear some chickens in the background. I'm sitting on the front porch of our ranch, which I have no experience ranching, but I bought a ranch 3 months ago because I wanted a place to create memories with my family.
Matt, welcome to Point of Impact. So glad to have you here.
Thanks, man. I'm honored to be here and honored to be in your presence, man. I have so much respect for people like yourself who've defended the freedom of this incredible country and given me the ability to do the things I do because we have our freedom. So I'm honored to be here and excited for this conversation.
Well, I've said before, but yeah, I joined the military because I couldn't really hold down a real job. But and now, yeah, invest and start in an entrepreneur because again, I'm not real employable.
That's the best thing to be, man. When you're not employable, it forces you to find resources and skills that you have that other people don't have. And one of the things I'm trying to kind of instill in my children, I've got two and a third on the way, is that everything in our life happens for us, not to us. And so everything that's happened, for me or everything that's happened for you has been a gift and a blessing. And you don't always know it in the moment, Aaron. Like sometimes you have to wait for things to transpire and then you look back and the dots all connect. But I'm really excited for this conversation and again, grateful to be here.
Now, here you're a golfer. Actually, you came up kind of, I don't know how humbly, but you first job I've heard you had was as a caddy, and that's
Yeah.
kind of where you got the spark for wealth creation and all that. By the way, my swing has actually improved since I stopped watching the ball.
I bet. I bet.
But
Golf's a vicious sport. Vicious.
tell me about that experience and what you gleaned from it.
Yeah, look, man, I think that was the moment in my life where I learned that service is the Trojan horse to knowledge. And what I mean by that is when you're carrying someone's clubs and you're telling them the yardages and the distances and where we should go and what the putt's going to do, you become valuable to that other human. And when you're caddying at a country club where generally speaking successful men and women play golf, now you're caddying for people that have experiences and knowledges that you can learn from. And so if you can find a way to serve them, whether it be through caddying or through cleaning their shoes, which I did as well in the locker room, you now create an opportunity where they will return the favor of service to you by giving you the knowledges that they have had and they have experienced in their life. And look, if they can give me feedback, knowledge, and wisdom on the battle scars that they have so that I don't have to have those battle scars on my entrepreneurial journey, now I have a gift. And now I have used service as the Trojan horse to knowledge to make different decisions as I move forward in my life. So started off literally as a caddy and a shoe boy in the locker room, cleaning shoes. And from that experience, I also learned a very valuable lesson. And that lesson was that there's a million ways to make $1 million. So growing up, small town kid, kind of always thought like, the only way to really make money was you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, or you got to own your own business, right? And what I never understood was how many different businesses exist in this world. And so through service, I learned all of these things, all these lessons that I've been able to apply to my life. And when I've applied them to my life has transformed and changed. And the other cool thing I'll say, Aaron, is the lives of people around me have transformed and changed too, because now I have certain knowledges and certain awarenesses that I can give to others. And so, yeah, the caddying was literally just a Trojan horse to knowledge. It was, sure, I'll carry your bag because there's no way you're spending 4 hours with a 16-year-old kid unless I'm carrying your bag. So yeah, you own 3 successful companies and you sold two of them and you're worth a couple $1 million. You're not going to spend time with me unless I'm serving you. So sure, I'll carry your bag. Sure, I'll clean your club. Sure, I'll wash your ball, whatever you need me to do, because now I'm getting 4 hours with you. And by the way, we're going to walk and we're going to talk. And through the process, you're going to learn about me. I'm going to learn about you. But I'm going to earn the right to be able to ask you questions over time. And through those questions, I'm going to gain knowledge and wisdom. And so that's what I treated the job at the country club for.
Sounds like you were open to learning at an early age. It's there's an interesting thought too. A million ways to make a
Always
million
been
dollars.
a student of life.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, what came to mind was do that million ways to make $1 million. Uh, in fact, it was I think I don't know the exact statistics on it. It was Shaquille O'Neal left the NBA with like $4 million, and he turned that wealth into $400 million by investing in Domino's franchises and car washes. I mean, uh, it's people don't realize that. Maybe I didn't realize for a long time that you could become wealthy and without getting one of those PhDs or doctorates or Juris doctorates, being one of those salaried professionals. But tell me how you found your way to being tapped to becoming the CEO of GoBundance.
Yeah, look, man, I think you're spot on. I don't think you have to have the PhD or any of the accolades to achieve a level of success. I think really what's more important is to almost have a blind confidence, no pun intended, but you have to have a confidence in yourself that is sort of like mute to the world. Like you can't let other people put their narratives or their stories on you. Like people have probably told you, Aaron, you're never going to be able to do a podcast if you can only hear out of one ear and you don't, you can't see, or, whatever stories people tell you. And Shaquille O'Neal did the same thing, right? Like, just because I might only be a quote unquote dumb basketball player doesn't mean that I can't achieve a level of success. And for me, it's no different, Aaron. Like I had to detach from the stories and the narratives that I had from other people. And it wasn't that they were out to get me. It wasn't that they were bad people. It's just, that's just general human nature, is to try to protect us. So I'm going to tell you everything that could go wrong with entrepreneurship, or I'm going to tell you everything that could go wrong with moving to Austin, Texas. I'm going to tell you everything that could go wrong with leaving your job. And then you're going to make a decision. And what I have always sort of been proud of in myself is that I have the ability to find the way or make the way to achieve whatever I desire in life. And so with regards to the CEO of GoBundance, how I got here was, it was candidly, it was dumb luck. But luck only occurs when you put yourself in a position to get lucky. And so at a young age, I moved across the country with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. I volunteered at a camp for children with incarcerated parents. I was that student that I like to always thrive to be. I asked the mentor that was on the trip with me a bunch of questions. Turns out he was one of the founders of GoBundance. I learned how to I didn't learn, but I figured out how to get into his world by reading his book, asking him what it would take to have lunch with him. That led to me working for him, which led to me volunteering at a GoBundance event about 11 years ago. And that now has gone full circle, where this organization, for lack of better terms, has bred me. Like I've been raised by the GoBundance group. And when an opportunity presented itself that they needed a leader and somebody to step into the leadership role, they approached me and asked me if I'd be willing to do it because of all of the experiences, all of the knowledge, but most importantly, Aaron, all of the service that I had given to that organization over the past 10 years. And so I stepped in as the CEO of GoBundance, not really knowing what the CEO of GoBundance really meant, not really understanding the power of leadership. Like I always knew the power of leadership, but the biggest lesson I've learned on this journey, Aaron, is there are leaders and there are leaders of leaders. And being a leader of leader is a whole nother level of leadership. It requires you to be humble. It requires you to listen. It requires you to be willing to take ownership for successes, but more importantly, for failures. It requires you to eat a nice slice of humble pie pretty much every damn day. And it requires you to be learning based. And so I don't know all the answers. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but what I do know is that I am 1 degree of separation from every single person I need in my life to get me the answer I need. I just have to ask the right questions. And then I may have to serve that person in order to get them to be willing to serve me back and give me the answers. And so that's what I do with GoBundance. I serve, man. I'm just here to serve. And again, I stand in front of a group of incredibly successful men, and I say, hey, I don't have all the answers, but here's a perspective I have, and let's ask this question and let's think about this. And I promise you I'm going to take massive action. I promise you I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes, but I also promise you along the way, I'm going to pause. I'm going to understand the changes I need to make, and I'm going to course correct with the feedback from incredible people around me to make myself the best version I can as a leader and a leader of leaders, which is very hard.
There sounds like there was quite a bit of transformation, both personally and within the mastermind, within the tribe. Can you tell me first a little bit about your transformation from coming in as a member to becoming the CEO? It says the Go Abundance.
Look, man, I've never actually been a member. I've never actually been a member. I've always been a volunteer of the organization. And there's been a ton of transformation in Candelier, and there's still a lot of transformations I'm going through. Like, unlike a cookie that gets cooked and is done and is baked, I'm never done. I'm always transforming. I'm always growing. I'm always evolving. And so, the transformation that I've been on over the last 2 years as CEO, I believe candidly, I'm just getting started. And one of the greatest lessons that I've learned along the way is the power of communication. And I'm not necessarily the best communicator. I don't really love slowing down and talking to people. I'm not really very good, generally speaking, at communicating the plan or communicating the vision. I just kind of want to put my head down and go. But on this journey, I have learned that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go together. And in order to go together, you have to slow down, articulate and communicate. Where are we going? Why are we going there? These are my thoughts along the way. And then on the journey, be willing to accept the feedback from the people that are around you. And so I still to this day have tons of coaches. I have a CEO coach. I have a health coach. I have a concierge doctor. I have a speaking coach. I have a social media coach. So I don't pretend to have all the answers. I don't pretend to have evolved and grown into the person I need to be, but I do commit every single day to continuing to get 1% better. And if I focus on that 1% growth every single day, I know that the journey is ultimately my destination, and I will continue to evolve into the man I need to be, not only for the jobs I'm running, but more importantly, my family. I've got 2 young kids, a third on the way. I've got an incredible wife, and I'm not perfect, man. There's days where I say the wrong thing to my wife. There's days where I don't respond maybe the best way I can to my children. And what I do is I do reflect on it. I do then go seek the counsel of the people around me. How would you handle this? How would you do this? What should I have done differently? How could I have improved? And I just continue to transform. I continue to evolve. But I evolve by always getting feedback from people I'm willing to take criticism from. And I think a lot of us take criticism from people that we wouldn't be willing to take advice from. And so if I want to get healthy and the guy criticizing my weight is 400 pounds, should I really even accept his criticism? In reality, it's just a reflection of him.
You hit the nail on the head when it comes to taking advice or listening to other people, right? We if we put our dreams out there, we put our goals out there, and people are like, "No, you can't do that," or "You probably shouldn't try that. That's too risky." Yeah, they're one, maybe they probably don't have the experience or talent, or they don't have. They're not you, and they don't have a. They're probably coming from a place of fear, and they just don't have the experience. Like you said, if you're overweight, you probably shouldn't be talking about diet and nutrition. If you're not a millionaire, if you're not wealthy, you probably shouldn't be giving financial advice, all that kind of stuff. But then there's also the internal talk, the things we tell ourselves, and sometimes that's the biggest hurdle to overcome. Uh, did you have to overcome some of those self-limiting beliefs?
I mean, the answer is no, I didn't have to. The answer is yes, I still am. Like, those limiting beliefs still exist, man. Like, they don't go away. And that's one of the things I've learned on this journey is that little voice inside of us that's trying to keep us safe, that's trying to protect us, that's trying to make sure that we don't look stupid by failing or whatever judgments we have around life. That little voice doesn't go away. Now, I really strive to turn the volume down on that little voice the best I can. And I recognize that that voice will always be there. And that voice is there for my best interest. It's not there to try to ruin and sabotage me. It's there because it doesn't want me to look like an idiot in the lunchroom, or it doesn't want me to look like a fool by failing business, or it doesn't want me to break my leg riding a bull, like whatever it is, right? That voice is there to protect me. So I just respect the voice. I understand the voice is there, but I make a conscious effort to not listen to the voice um, in pursuit of the vision and plan I have for my life.
So, as you're growing, learning, expanding into the person you're supposed to be, how and the leader you're supposed to be, how has that affected your leadership within the tribe?
Yeah, I would say I've gotten much, much stronger as a leader. I've gotten much stronger as a communicator. I've gotten much stronger as an executor. And there's still so much room to go, man. It's so exciting. It's such a gift, such a reward. And I think the thing I would tell you is like Matthew McConaughey has a speech. I think he was getting an award, and he talked about how like his hero is himself in 5 years. And once he gets there, his hero is still going to be himself in 5 years. And so for me, like I don't claim to be at the top. I don't claim to have arrived. I don't claim to have been like all this success. Like the man I'm trying to become is the version of myself 5 years from today. And tomorrow it's the version 5 years from then. And the day after it's 5 years from then. Right. So I just understand the hero's journey and the desire that I have of putting one foot in front of the other every single day, knowing that I'm not actually chasing a destination. I have a vision for my life and I have a place that we're going, but life is all about the journey. It's all about the experience. And I'm just constantly trying to evolve. I'm constantly trying to grow. And I think the way that I strive to do that is I'm not afraid to admit that I've made a mistake. I'm not afraid of a hard conversation. I'm not afraid to own the result of whatever happens inside of my life or inside of my businesses, because whether I'm willing to admit it or not, I only can control what I can control, which is me. And so I do play a role, and I do help solve, and I do help bring problems every single day to every single thing I do, because at the end of the day, I want to be in control of my own life. And if I didn't want to, then yeah, I could blame others and I could throw all these criticisms and all these judgments out at people. But at the end of the day, what a poor, from my perspective, way to live your life is to let other people control your destiny. Like, I don't want to do that.
You want control the controllables, right? You go crazy trying to. That's, I think, a lot of what leads to that anxiety and depression is worrying about the things that you have no bearing on, no effect over. So that's a good one to live by. Tell me about the GoBundance tribe and how that's evolved.
Yeah, so look, man, GoBundance is an incredible community of successful entrepreneurs, and it's sort of rooted in this notion of the people you surround yourself with are the people you're going to become, or the person you're going to become. And so there's an exercise I'll do with our members where I'll say, okay, write down the 5 people you spend the most time with, write down their weight, write down their income, add up all their weights, divide it by 5, and tell me how close that is to your weight. And it's scary when we do that exercise, and how true it is that we become the people we spend the most time with. And so GoBundance has really continued to become an organization where men are lifting up men, no different than the military, by the way, and pushing each other to be the best versions of themselves that they can be, whether that be through health, whether that be through business, or whether that be through genuine contribution. It doesn't matter. We focus on the whole life. We focus on every aspect of the man, because if you are not being the husband you could be, it is virtually impossible for you to be the best business leader. I tell people this all the time. If you have turmoil at home, there is no chance you're showing up as your truest, best self at work. Whether you want to admit it or not, subconsciously, the conflict at home is in your brain. If you're not healthy, same thing can be true. And if your business is in shambles and you don't have the right relationships around you, then how can you truly be the best business leader you can? So GoBundance is an organization where men come together to hold one another accountable to being the best versions of themselves that they can be, and more importantly, to walking the walk, right? A lot of us love to talk. Talk is easy. Hey, I'm going to go do this. Hey, I'm going to run a marathon. Hey, I'm going to ride a bull. Hey, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Without accountability, it's very easy to skirt around that commitment. And so inside of GoBundance, it's, hey, I'm going to be a better man. Here's what I'm going to do, and here's when I'm going to do it by. And now you have a group of peers that hold you accountable to doing what you said you're going to do. And that's where the transformation happens.
You mentioned the military veterans. I think the over 2.5 centuries, the U.S. military has really figured out how to make becoming a better soldier easy, uh, at least simple. And there's a simple mission, right? Here's what you need to become to be the best warrior you can be. And they beat into every service member's mind core values. And it's like the touchstone, it's the compass by which we lead everybody. And I was wondering, is in GoBundance, in that community, is there a mission? Is there that set of values? What drives these members?
Yeah, it's our 6 core pillars. It's no different than the military. It's about genuine contribution, authentic relationships, extreme accountability, age-defying health, bucket list adventures, and then and doing all of those things with the people that you love and trust and care about, and doing it from a authentic, high integrity place, right? Like, we have our pillars, we have our foundations, that are inside of the community. But what's cool and unique about it is every single one of our members has their own values and their own mission that they're pursuing as well. And I think what the military does an incredible job of is they make it very clear what the mission is: to defend the freedom of this country, this amazing country. And then they do a great job of layering in values. And so I've done the same thing with my family. I have a mission for my life. I have core values for my life, and then I have a mission. Like, I know where I'm trying to go. So I got a vision of where I'm trying to go, and I have a mission of where I'm trying to go, right? They're two different things. And we encourage all of our members to have the same. We encourage them to have a 5-year vision for their life, reverse engineer that 5-year vision. It gives you 12-month goals. And there's a big difference, by the way, Aaron, between intentions and goals that we can get into as well. But it's all rooted in those values and in those principles of our pillars, and all of those pillars touch every aspect of a man's life.
Tell me a little bit more about this, mission, vision, and goals for your family. How do you have a mission for your family? What's that look like?
Well, so for me, the mission is what gets me out of bed. The vision is where I'm going. The mission is what gets me out of bed every day. And I'm on a mission to change the world, man. I'm on a mission to make memories to change the world. And so everything I do in my life is to chase memories that ultimately will change the world. So I'm sitting here on the interview with you. You probably hear some chickens in the background. I'm sitting on the front porch of our ranch, which I have no experience ranching, but I bought a ranch 3 months ago because I wanted a place to create memories with my family. And that's exactly what's happening. The first day we owned the ranch, I knew nothing about cattle. I knew nothing about tractors. I knew nothing about four-wheelers, but it was a Saturday. And that morning, we had 3 longhorn cattle delivered to the ranch. We had 3 ATVs delivered to the ranch, and we had a tractor delivered to the ranch. And people will be like, "Oh, wow, that's cool. You have a tractor. Oh, wow, that's cool. You have a ranch." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Like, fun, whatever." But really, what I have is a place to make memories. And so that first day, we had friends here that helped with the cattle. Their children were here. They're my friends' kids, or they're friends of my kids. They were riding ATVs. We had my 88-year-old grandmother here. She ends the day by driving one of the kids' ATVs. We had my parents here. They're driving around on ATVs. And the smile that every single one of them had on their face, Aaron, is worth far more than any asset I could ever buy. And so I'm on a mission to change the world through making memories. Now, the vision I have for my life, that's where I'm going in the next 5 years. So that talks about my health. That talks about my wife and our relationship. That talks about our children and what they're doing. It talks about our income and what that looks like. It talks about our contribution and where that's at. It talks about our family and what they're up to. And all of that is written in pencil because it's going to change and it's going to transform and it's going to evolve. So if it doesn't fit me anymore, I erase it and I just course correct it. But at least I wake up every day knowing my mission is to change the world through making memories. And my vision is, here's where we're going in 5 years and what our life is going to look like.
You know, you didn't have to buy the entire ranch or even the ATVs to have that experience. You could have just rented.
I could have rented it, but then the memories would have only been lasting as many times as I rented it. If you owned it, now, last Sunday, my wife was feeling a little under the weather. She had a cold, but she's also 37 weeks pregnant. And so I brought my two kids out here by myself. Now, our ranch is 18 minutes from our house, so it's not that big of a dramatic exercise to bring the kids here. But my 5-year-old daughter was driving a four-wheeler by herself. My 3-year-old son and I were on another four-wheeler chasing her around the property. We then spent time feeding our longhorn cattle and our donkeys. Then the kids wanted to go inside and eat lunch, so we went inside and ate lunch. Then they wanted to go outside and ride the dirt bikes. Then they wanted to feed the cattle again. All of those moments with my children are memories I'll have for a lifetime, man. And so I bought the ranch so that I could create memories constantly. I mean, what's really cool about the ranch is now the GoBundance team offices out of it, because we were in a stuffy, typical office building. And one day I invited the team out to the ranch and said, hey, let's do a work from the ranch day. This will be fun. And they all were like, could we just work from here full time? Because then we get to see the chickens. In between calls, we can go look at the cattle. We can walk around. We can be in nature. We can be more connected. But what's really cool, man, is we use the kitchen table as a war table. So like right now, there's two of our team members are inside. You know, one of them has built a little stand-up desk on two random boxes she found sitting in the house. She brings her monitor every time she comes. Another guy's out on the patio taking calls. I'm out on the porch doing a podcast. And we're collaborating in a really cool environment that allows us to make memories as a team, which bonds us, which the military does an incredible job at bonding people. So now when we get into the heat of battle with a problem in the business, we're bonded on such a deeper level than an office can ever bring us. And so you're right. I could have rented all of those things, but that would have meant that I would have been limited by the amount of memories I can have. And I never want to put limitations on my life. So buying the ranch made sure that I never had a limitation. And buying the ranch made sure I could make my vision a reality, which means right now there's guys out there building a fence so that we can house the 3 miniature Scottish Highlands that are coming next weekend. We can house the 2 goats that are coming next weekend, and we can house the 7-week-old baby zebra that will need to be bottle fed for the next 2 months that will be here in 3 weeks. So like now I have the ability to create even more magical moments for my family, my friends, our loved ones, because I own it, which means I have autonomy to do what I wish with this property.
Zebra? Where do you get a zebra?
Dude, I didn't know you could own zebras, and once I found out, I bought 2 of them.
That's great. And yeah, I was of course kidding about the
I know,
renting.
I know,
Uh,
I know. But
in
it's a good
fact,
point because a lot of people would say that.
no, I was. I think it's fantastic. I grew up on 20 acres in rural Ohio and loved it. Loved it, being outside. And I think there's so many reasons for us to get outside with nature, among each other, outside of the uh, you know conditioned spaces. I think it was East. Was it Michael Easter? I forget. The author of Comfort Crisis,
Oh
and
yeah, I don't know his name, but I know the book.
a very good book. And it talks all about how unhealthy it is to have circulated conditioned air, and um, how what we're missing from being outside. And it, yeah, I think it was also um, Running with Sherman. Is a great book about us being disconnected from the our animal cousins, and how what it physiologically does to us to just be around other living creatures. But I think it's fantastic.
It's different, man. And the other thing I'll say that you're alluding to but haven't quite hit on is screens, man. Like our children are on screens constantly. They want to watch a TV. I mean, even at school, my daughter's in kindergarten. She just started kindergarten. They just took their standardized testing on iPads with headphones in. And I understand like technology is here and technology is not going away and they need to understand how to use it. I get that. But technology is everywhere. But where it's not is on an ATV. Where it's not is on a dirt bike. Where it's not is on a longhorn cattle when the kid are feeding it. So I wanted to make sure that we could make memories away from technology, away from screens, like you're alluding to, getting back connected with nature and in an environment that I could control and the narratives that we could control from a perspective of like the stories we tell ourselves. Like I'll never forget this summer we were at Wisconsin. My wife and kids spend the summer in Wisconsin with my in-laws, and we were watching a movie before bedtime, and it was a commercial. And the commercial was literally 3 commercials in a row of sugar-based candy for the kids. And by the end of each commercial, my kid was like, I want that, I want that, I want that. And guess what? I wanted it too. Like, they made the damn commercial look so compelling, so exciting, so powerful. You're like, I want that cotton candy sucker, or whatever it was, right? I can't control that narrative. But if we're out at the ranch and we're out at the property, I can make sure that media or social media or ads or whatever, whoever else's narratives are running in this world, don't get put into our heads. And that's part of the problem I think that we need to solve is getting other people's agendas for our lives out of our way, so we can live our true passion and our true vision for our life, not controlled by what others say or think.
I'm kind of rattling off an Audible wish list right now, but reading what was it? The Anxious Generation was probably one of the scariest things I've read in a long time. Oh my gosh. And it's all about the screen time, phone time versus playtime. And yeah, so that's fantastic. I'm glad you're taking that kind of action. And what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced uh, taking the helm of uh, Yoga Abundance, and what were some of the surprises?
Yeah, I would say there have been so many challenges, but behind every one of those challenges is a gift and a blessing. So I don't really even look at any of them as challenges. I look at them all as gifts and lessons, just a perspective that I have and live with. Um, the most eye opening things for me have just been how slow things take. I'm not a very patient human being, but when you're trying to move the Titanic, it doesn't turn on a dime. And so we have a big organization with a lot of people. It doesn't just change on a dime. What surprised me is just how consistent you need to remain with the vision and the plan you have for your business, and remind people every day of where you're going and why you're going there. So they have to be bought back in essentially every single day. What surprised me is just how powerful culture is. It's like that underlying current that nobody talks about, is that riptide that takes you away into the ocean, but it's there whether you want to admit it or not. And when you lose it, it's really, really hard to get it back. And when you have it, you're limitless, like you're bulletproof. And so it was very complicating to get the vision, the culture, excuse me, back into the organization, the ethos that was GoBundance when it first started. To get that back was hard. It had been lost for a moment in time, and it wasn't lost because of anybody's intentionality of like, we're going to burn this culture to the ground. It was just lost because at the end of the day, the culture is established by the leaders. And so you have to lead through those changes. You have to lead through those revisions. You have to be willing to get the feedback from people to make the course corrections needed. And so, when I think through like the challenges and all that stuff, I mean, one of the challenges for me early on, which is now like, again, a great gift and a great blessing, was like, I was standing in front of a room on a stage with a microphone leading 250 men, all eyes on me, all activities from what I was saying. I wasn't a natural born speaker. Like, I hadn't been on a bunch of stages. I hadn't done a bunch of training for that. So like, talk about nerves. Like, 33 years old, you stand up on a stage and you've got people worth 50, 60, $200 million looking to you as to how they can continue to evolve and transform. Like, that's intimidating as heck. But what's cool is when you do it vulnerably and be like, guys, I don't know all the answers, but here's something I'm working on. Or, one of the things I had the mastermind on an event was, I said, the magic you're seeking lies in the work you've been unwilling to do. I want you to take 2 minutes and write down what you've been avoiding. And then I want you guys to go around the table and talk about what you've been avoiding and why you've been avoiding it. The transformation that occurred from that one simple question was mind blowing. People still talk about it. And all I did was share something that I was working on. I was like, what work have I been unwilling to do? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's everything I've been seeking. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because I've been unwilling to. Well, now I just got to get to it. I just got to do it. I just got to become it. And so, it's been a very humbling journey. It's been a very rewarding journey. And candidly, I think we're just getting started. My mission of changing the world resonates through what we're doing in the GoBundance community. And I truly believe if we can lift men up to be better men, that means they'll be better husbands. That means they'll be better fathers. That means they'll be better contributors to their community, maybe better business leaders if they own businesses, which ultimately has a ripple effect. Because whether we want to admit it or not, every single one of us impact the people around us, right? You throw a stone in the water, people see the splash. What people don't necessarily pay attention to is the ripple, and the ripple is always there. So when you make changes in your life, when you make transformation in your life, the ripple effect hits the people around you. So if we can help men be better men, that ripple effect will impact their children, it'll impact their spouse, it'll impact the schools, it'll impact their business, it'll impact the gas station down the road. And now all of a sudden we're changing the world. And that's freaking exciting, man.
Well, it's hard to make those kind of decisions, those kind of improvements, when you're avoiding anything, avoiding the change, avoiding the hard, work. When you, I was on the Abundance website, and I think that's one of the stated uh, core values is vulnerability, and that stood out because that's not a common core value that a lot of it's not a power word like a lot of corporations will have. Why was that chosen as a core value?
So if you look at any transformational organizations, like let's take Alcoholics Anonymous, for instance, the first thing you have to do on your journey to fixing your problem with alcohol, according to their plan, is admit you have a problem. Admitting you have a problem is a very vulnerable, a very naked, a very scary place to be. But once you get to that moment, that's where the transformation can exist because you've been vulnerable. You've put down your guard and you said, hey, I recognize this is what's going on in my life. And it's amazing the incredible people that will come to your aid when you're willing to make that comment or you make that vulnerability moment and create that. And so for us, as we go about transforming and evolving, you can't have integrity without vulnerability because the society we live in and the communities we live in, generally speaking, don't put a huge value on vulnerability. Actually, I think the world we live in today says like, don't be vulnerable, don't be transparent, only show people on social media what you want them to see. Don't talk about money. Oh, don't actually, never talk about health. That's a dangerous place to go. We can't actually change anything. We can't actually improve. We can't actually grow. We can't actually evolve. And so vulnerability for me is at the core of transformation. And all of us, no matter where we're at in our life, even if we're Jeff Bezos, have things that we need to transform in our lives. Not need to, let me put it this way, have things we can transform in our lives if we choose to. And that can allow us to make a greater impact. And if we all make a greater impact, now all of a sudden the world becomes a better place. And that sounds fun to me. So I have really focused on vulnerability inside of GoBundance because I believe that that is at the core of everything we need to do in order to change, in order to grow, in order to evolve.
It's a really tough thing, especially for service members. Going back to my previous experiences, is that I you're supposed to be brave, have courage and step into unknown dangers, stick your neck out, and uh, and possibly have the head lopped off, so to speak. So I've asked other service members, can you have courage without vulnerability? And it's a tough one to answer for these guys because they don't want to admit vulnerability. But you can't have one without the other. And that's the real answer. Is that
I agree, man. I actually don't think you can have vulnerability without courage, nor can you have courage without vulnerability. And actually, vulnerability in the example you just used about the military and the service, if we were vulnerable about, hey, we're going into this battle and I'm scared and I'm worried and here's what could happen, all that's going to do is it's going to heighten our senses on how to protect and defend ourselves. It's going to make us stronger in the battle. It's not going to make us weak. Because if we all want to sit around and act like we're not scared to jump out of an airplane and go into Afghanistan and take a city, like we're all fucking delusional. Excuse my language, but like we're scared shitless. And it's okay to say, dude, I'm scared. But what's not okay is to not take action because of fear. And so when you say, hey, I'm scared, now the people around you can rally and go like, dude, I'm scared too, but let's jump together. Or like last night I went swimming with my kids. My 3-year-old wanted to do a cannonball, but he went to the deep end and he said he was scared. So what did I do? I stood on the ledge, held his hand and said, Bodhi, I'm scared too. 1, 2, 3, and we jumped. Now I gave him permission to be scared. I didn't give him permission to be scared and not take action. And that's the dangerous place to be. So as long as you're vulnerable and action follows the vulnerability, what a great gift, what a great opportunity. But if you allow sort of ego, I will say, to step in the way and say, hey, I can't be vulnerable, and so I'm not going to jump, and I'm going to use this like bullshit, like I'm not going to jump, I don't need to do that, like I don't want to do that right now, or whatever ego maniac things we would say, now you're limiting your life, and that doesn't sound fun.
And that's a great example of another aspect of vulnerability is that being vulnerable yourself breeds trust. It allows others to be vulnerable, and then you connect with others on a deeper level. You've given, you've told your son, you're you're afraid too, and allowed him, give him the permission to be afraid himself, and then uh, he trusts you to be afraid, to try, to step out into the fear, stick his neck out, so to speak. So that's it's a great example. So where do you see uh, where do you see GoBundance going into the future? How is it growing? I mean, it is a business. You have investors, owners, but it's also a community. So where does it go?
We're on a mission right now to bring GoBundance local. And we're doing that using our regional model to create local chapters around the country, candidly around the world, but we're going to focus on the US primarily first. Where it goes, again, I wake up every day saying, how am I going to change the world today? How am I going to change the world today? GoBundance is a vehicle to changing the world. We're at just under 1,000 members today, and where does it go? I mean, who am I to determine where it will end up? But I believe where it will ultimately end up is it will change the world. It will impact men in deep, meaningful ways that can then impact their communities that will thus change the world. Might mean we're at 10,000 members, might mean we're at 2,000 members, might mean we're at 100,000 members. I don't really know, and I'm not necessarily attached to those numbers per se, but I am attached to the mission of changing the world. And so everything we do is around how to make a greater impact on our members, how to create more opportunity for our members to grow and evolve as men and as humans, how to help our members make greater impact on the things that they're doing. And if we do that, everything else, Aaron, will take care of itself.
With that many members, how do you is still how does it become anonymous? The big. How do you still breed that vulnerability and accountability?
Yeah, so the team and I have created a slogan that is sort of like one of our guiding principles internally. It's not an external facing, but internally, everything we do as an organization we call VIA, VIA. And VIA stands for vulnerability, intimacy, and accountability. So every event we host, every meeting we host, everything we do, every message we communicate, those core three things are front and center for every of them. We're trying to put our members in a vulnerable situation where they can be vulnerable, safe space. We're trying to do so in an intimate setting, so smaller groups rather than just hiding in a room of 200 people sitting shoulder to shoulder. Our meetings occur face to face. And then we breed accountability in everything we do. So it's like, great, you were vulnerable in an intimate setting. Now you know what changes you need to make. By when are you going to make those? And we as an organization collect that accountability and we follow up with our members. Like I remember last year at the October event, we did an exercise and wrapped up the event with an accountability exercise. And I put a piece of paper on everybody's table. One person at the table was a scribe, and they wrote down everybody's name and then what they were going to commit to doing in the next 90 days. The team collected those pieces of paper, and about 60 days removed from the event, we emailed every single one of those members and said, hey, Aaron, you said you were going to take your spouse on a trip. Did you do it? Hey, Matt, you said you were going to lose 15 pounds. How's it going? Do you need any help? And we reminded people like we're listening, we're paying attention, and we're here to provide the resources to help you achieve the life you want to live. And so the way we do it, again, is that VIA model. It's about vulnerability, intimacy, and accountability and doing it at scale.
That's actually pretty incredible. I appreciate everything you've done with the organization. I think what you've shared with our audience is fantastic. I think it's pretty inspirational. I want to buy a ranch too.
Don't buy one, just come
I
check
want a
mine out.
zebra and goats.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, so I've got to add that to the list of all the things I want to do. But when you open up the Italy chapter or an Italy chapter, let me know. Or maybe before then, Northwest Florida uh, chapter.
Well, why don't we why don't we open up Italy together? I think that's one of the other things that people lose sight of is they think that at the finish line there's only going to be one person standing in first place. The military is a great example of this. You can do far more together than you can alone. And so rather than trying to open up an Italy chapter myself, I would rather work with incredible people like you to say, hey, how do we create a win-win such that we can bring abundance to Italy? I don't operate from a place of scarcity. I operate from a place of abundance. And so let's talk about bringing abundance to Italy. That would be amazing. And let's talk about what opportunities would reside in it for you. Let's talk about how we can help serve you. And let's talk about how we can impact the Italians and bring abundance to Italy.
I lived there for 4 years while I was in the service and learned the language, passable. I absolutely loved it. I've got a couple friends who are expatriates there, and I'm started looking just superficially at buying something to be turned into a rental. So that's on my mind. But I Uh, you actually derailed my train of thought. Now I'm thinking Italy, but uh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Is that it's a shame that people think have that scarcity mindset. Is that for people to be rich, to be wealthy, to have a successful life, that they've got to take from someone else, and it's absolutely not true. The most, the wealthiest are the people who have provided the most value to other people's lives, the people that are willing to pay for that. But then also, you can lead, inspire, you can educate, and you can lift others up while also being, they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I really do appreciate all your efforts and, of course, being on the show today. If you wouldn't mind, we're going to get into the final segment of the show called. Sorry, something is really interfering with this audio.
It's the damn cicada bugs, probably.
Oh, that's the cicadas?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I was like, I thought it was some kind of electronic feedback over here.
No,
That's so
no, no.
cool.
It's the damn bugs, dude. It's the damn bugs.
Now that's really familiar from my time on the farm in Ohio. But okay, the final segment. Apologize for me being distracted. Uh, Final segment. Countdown to impact. 3 books, 2 people, 2 quotes, and 1 person that have had an impact in your life.
Yeah, so the 3 books, I would start with Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. That book totally transformed my life and talked a lot about the death of the ego, which I think is something we all probably should pay attention to is ego. Another book that I would recommend is As a Man Thinketh. Just an incredible book to talk about the power of your thoughts and subconscious mind and how we can control our thoughts and our actions. Then the last book that changed my life would be I think it was called, I'm going to probably botch the name, but it was called like Rich Couples Finish Last or something like that. And the book, all it talked about, the one lesson I learned in this book was that when you're a dink, so dual income, no kids, you should live 100% off of one person's salary and save 100% of the others. And by my wife and I doing that when we were young and not even married, it helped set us up for a life of success because we had a nest egg that we could then use to buy our first property or make some investments or do other things and have our money start working for us. The 2 quotes I would tell you, and I don't know who they are. I always, people always give me credit for it, but I don't think they're my quotes. I'm sure I heard them from somewhere. The first one would be the only difference between a rut and a grave is how long you choose to stay there or lay there. And then the second quote is I have the ability to find the way or make the way to whatever I want. And I just live by those 2 sayings. Like, not every day is perfect, not every day is glorious, but if I choose to stay there, I'm picking a grave, not a rut. and then I have the ability to find the way or make the way to do whatever I want. And then the person, I mean, look, man, I don't know where I would be without David Osborne, one of the founders of GoBundance. He's just an incredible influence on me. I still run his family office today. He married my wife and I. Him and his wife were the first people to meet our children. Like, just an incredible leader, an incredible visionary, and an even better man. And has really just made a big impact on me in really, really cool ways.
That's fantastic. I think the book you're talking about, Simon Sinek, was Leaders Eat Last. Is that the one?
No, no, this is like a no name, like nobody buys it, nobody's heard of it. It's called Rich Couples Finish Last or something like that. And it literally talked about how to set yourself up in a relationship for financial success. And like the main lesson was dual income, no kids, live 100% off of one person's salary, save 100% of the others.
Gotcha. Okay. Just
Leaders Eat Last is a
make
good
sure
book too, though.
terrific. Well, Matt, once again, thank you so much for your time and your expertise and a little inspiration. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. And again, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing with this podcast. It was an honor for being here.
All right. Well, you're welcome as well.